Okay, hello, my name is Amari Parrish, and I'm going to be talking to you guys today about the Dalai Lama and the conflict with China. This is my first time ever doing a presentation with audio, so I hope you guys enjoy, and let's get started. Okay, so in order to understand the conflict between the Dalai Lama and China, you have to understand what a Dalai Lama actually is. So, Dalai Lamas are manifestations of the Buddha of compassion, who are considered to be enlightened beings that use reincarnation to serve the people. The Dalai Lama is the spiritual and temporal leader of the Tibetan people. And the first Dalai Lama was believed to have lived during the 15th century, and that's actually who you see over here. Many references use this picture to depict the first Dalai Lama, so that's what I'm using. The Dalai Lama is actually the head monk of the Tibetan Buddhism, and is responsible for governing Tibet. They are believed to be on the path of awakening and are believed to have compassion, pure compassion, for all living beings. So things of nature, any creature, any human, they will have compassion for you. Okay, the 14th Dalai Lama, who you see right here, his name is Tenzin Gyatso. I hope I said his name correctly. He was born on July 6, 1935. He was recognized as holy at the age of 2, but was not found by the High Lamas until the age of 4. And for those of you who don't know, High Lamas are actually the Dalai Lama's consultants that actually help and advise him through his daily task. His nicknames, I'm going to try to say them as accurately as possible. Yeshin Norbu, which means wish-fulfilling gem, or Kundun, which is the presence. And in accordance with Tibetan tradition, the current Dalai Lama is actually considered to be the reincarnation of the 13th Dalai Lama, who you see down here. I don't specifically think that they look too much alike, but I am not a High Lama, so my opinion really doesn't matter too much, now does it? So there are actually a number of ways that the High Lamas actually choose the Dalai Lama, but these are just the main 4 down here. Just as a side note, they usually look for boys who were actually born around the exact same time that the previous Dalai Lama has passed. So these boys are usually around the age of 2 or 4, just like the 14th Dalai Lama, who we just discussed, was found at the age of 4. So for dream, the High Lamas may dream about a mark or a location that will help identify the boy they're looking for. Smoke, if the previous Dalai Lama was cremated, they will actually release the cremation remains in the air and actually go in that specific direction. The Oracle Lake, which is the lake that you see over here, which is Lama. I hope I said that right. They will actually go down to this lake and actually look for a sign, such as a vision or or the way that the water moves, to just get a general direction of which way they need to go. My most favorite one is actually the artifacts. They will actually, once they locate the boy, they will actually present artifacts that belong to previous Dalai Lamas in his presence, and actually see if he recognizes them and claims them as his. So the 14th Dalai Lama had to come into power in 1950. He was actually a teenager, because he was actually born in 1935, as I previously said. So he was just a teenager when he had to assume power for Tibet, because at this point conflict with China had gotten actually pretty bad, so they actually had to step in. Okay, so in 1950, when the 14th Dalai Lama actually came into power, plans were actually made to bring Tibet under official Chinese control. So in March of 1959, Tibetan people protested, and in response, the Chinese People's Republic crushed the revolt, and thousands were killed. And that's actually what this picture over here is referring to. It actually compares the deaths of people of Tibet with those of people who were in Hiroshima and Nagasaki and the Rwanda genocide. So you can see it's over 1 million people for Tibet that have been killed because of China's occupation of Tibet. So it's actually like a really broad scale. And because of this, the Dalai Lama was exiled, and he has since passed his power to the democratic institutions, but his followers still consider him to hold majority of the power. Okay, so when the Dalai Lama was exiled, he fled to India to avoid possible assassination from China. And thousands of his followers actually migrated with him. So you can actually see up here that Tibet is actually a good chunk of China. And so he had to leave Tibet and go into India, where he was actually greeted and welcomed by the Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru. And he allowed the people of Tibet to form a new government in India in exile, in Dharahamsala, India. So it's like they created a new Tibet in India. And then if China wanted to continue to pursue them, they'd have to go into India and invade India. So currently in occupied Tibet, any sign of loyalty to the Dalai Lama can have any of the following consequences: arrest, lengthy sentences, torture, violent crackdowns, and re-education programs. So this picture right here actually shows three of the ways that the Chinese government can actually find the Tibetan people, such as if they fly a flag, they send an email abroad, or if they say a phrase that has to do with human rights, referring to Tibet, they will actually have to endure one of these methods. And this picture here, which is actually the figure of Tibet, as you can see, the blue figures are people of Tibet, whereas the red figures are people of China. So you actually see exactly how much China has overrun Tibet and is still pursuing to take control and make Tibet a part of China. So people who are Tibetan people who are still in their native land are actually losing a great deal of power. And so it's actually pretty interesting. So when the Dalai Lama actually left for India, some people actually stayed. And actually, as a really interesting side note, this Dalai Lama is the first Dalai Lama to travel westward, actually migrate westward, because he's still currently in India. Okay, so China actually accused the Dalai Lama of seeking to rule Tibet and being a splitist who seeks Tibetan independence. Splitist is an actual word in the dictionary. It is a person who advocates separation from a larger body. So in order to stop this, China actually has closed 99% of Tibet's monasteries and jailed thousands of monks, and has banned the Dalai Lama's images from Tibet, and actually has ordered Tibetans to denounce him, which they don't do. Since they are so loyal to him, they actually refuse to denounce him. China actually objects strongly to any political leaders in any other countries to meet with the Dalai Lama. It's actually the U.S. that still currently sees the Dalai Lama on a regular basis. Barack Obama has actually done that a few times, whereas other countries actually refuse to see him altogether. Tibet is actually one of 12 of the most repressed countries in the world, as this picture up here, as you see in this picture up here, along with Syria, North Korea, and Saudi Arabia. So there is literally little to no freedom for people of Tibet, and it's actually pretty sad. But I am sorry to end on a bad note, but that is pretty much all I have for you guys. I tried to pick topics that I felt were actually pretty important and pretty interesting. So if you want to go and look for any more information, please go to any one of these references. And I hope you guys enjoyed my presentation, and I will talk to you guys next time.